So like I said, thank you everybody for joining the monthly licensing webinar for October. Today, October the 7th, 2021. My name is Ian Gerard. I'm one of the Microsoft licensing specialists for Ultima, and you can see my contact details on the screen there. But of course, following this webinar, should you have any questions, then please don't hesitate to contact me, your licensing specialist, or your account manager. We do have several, we do have a couple of major points to run through really on today's webinar. And we will keep the agenda relatively high level, but I will just start off with some housekeeping. Obviously, this is being recorded, so the slides will be made available to you afterwards. So if anyone has been unable to attend, or you would like to forward this on to someone else, then do please feel free to do so. I think with all of this stuff, sometimes it's a lot more better once you start to consider your own position and your own specific requirements. So I am more than happy to come and kind of deliver this on a one-to-one session. Also, there might be questions. There will be questions that come up potentially as we go. If I see them as we go, I will try and answer them. Otherwise, I'll review them at the end. There will be a time at the end for questions as well. But honestly, if something comes up, please don't hesitate to pop down a question, and I will kind of cover it off. If I manage to miss them, then feel free to, like I say, all my contact details were there. So contact me, your own Ultima licensing specialist, or your Ultima account team, and we can all kind of help you. But today's webinar, like I say, is an important one. It is focusing on the major Microsoft price increase that was announced just over a month ago now. I'll also cover off the changes to the CSP agreement as well, which have also been announced at the same time. And then I'll run through where we were in regards to some of the history of that, what incentives, promos, where the advantages are to be found, what the roadmap looks like in regards to what's happened and what's upcoming, so we can start, so you as an organization can start to plan your next steps. I have still included some other news at the end. We might skip through that relatively quickly, but I think it is still important to cover off what other incentives are around, and a little bit around Windows 365 and Microsoft Scheduler. But absolutely, the main bulk and the priority of today's webinar is very much focusing on that Microsoft price increase and the changes to their CSP platform. And in that regard, I think one of the first things to say is everyone wants to know about the price increase, which is due to impact on the 1st of March 2022. I'm sure you're already aware of it. And we need to understand why Microsoft are doing this. And there's the Microsoft answer, which is obviously that, I mean, this was initially launched, the E3 suite was initially launched in July 2011. Okay, so there has been a whole decade of continuous innovation. And as you can see there, I mean, even in the last 6 to 12 months, we've seen more and more products, more and more value, more and more services added to that Microsoft 365 stack, especially when we start considering things like the Power Platform and even elements of Visio now part of that Microsoft 365 E3 suite. So there are effectively all these new products without having been a major price increase. I mean, in actual fact, if I look back to June 2011, when Microsoft 365 or E3, I should say, first came out, E3, it was Office 365 E3. It was included what, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook from the Office, and then Link, Exchange, and InfoPath, and now there's kind of over 24 individual products. So that's kind of Microsoft's thinking, that there has been a decade of continuous innovation, and therefore there's some price increases. I'm sure everyone has seen their reported figures, so I think there's a certain pinch of salt needed with that. But let's look at the actual impact of the price increases, which I've put up on the screen here. So this was announced in August this year, and is due to kind of impact on the 1st of March 2022. It is not on every single Microsoft product. Like I say, it's just focusing on those kind of Office 365 and Microsoft 365 products. So it's also impacting the commercial sector. this is really important to understand. So if you're a home consumer, a home user, that consumer base is not having the price increase. And similarly with education, is the educational prices are not having an increase as well. But across business basic, business premium, E1, E3, Office 365, E5, and Microsoft 365 E3, you can see the price increases there ranging from 10 from kind of around 8.5% with E5, right up to 25% with that E1 license. And you'll notice that Microsoft 365 E5 is not being increased in price. So as customers look to assess whether they qualify in that move from E3 to E5, are we justifying it? Are we doing the security suite? Are we using Teams for telephony? Are we investing in the Microsoft Power Platform with Power BI? And if those answers have traditionally been, maybe not so much, then you've often, that doesn't really justify that move from E3 to E5. So one could argue that part of this play with Microsoft is to lower that gap between the E3 to E5, therefore making customers being able to assess the commercial impact of that upgrade and finding that E5 price more agreeable, simply not by reducing that price, but by increasing the price of the plans underneath it. So these are the price increases that are due to hit on the 1st of March 2022, just on these products. And this is separate from the second action, which is what I'm going to talk about now, the bulk, which is around Microsoft's new commerce experience, the NCE. And this also is going to have some significant changes in the way that organizations buy, plan, procure, manage, and support their online subscriptions. So Microsoft's new commerce experience is something which has been kind of in the market for a while, and I'll run through the roadmap. It kind of started around 18 months ago with some of the changes regarding Azure, and now it's coming to impact the workspace, the Office 365, the end users, the Office 365, Microsoft 365. But if we look at today's environment, as you can see on the left, you might be no matter what the size of organization you are, there is a huge variety of licensing programs to choose from, whether that be Web Direct, MPSA, or whether you're on an open agreement, an EA agreement. Several different segmented customers could choose several different of the licensing programs available to them. And there was no particular incorrect way of doing this. And it actually led to quite a large agreement sprawl. Again, you could always kind of find the license that you need to purchase in the most intelligent way. But after doing that for a while, you did have this large agreement sprawl. There's a lack of clarity and a certain degree of complexion as well. You have multiple renewal dates, multiple rules and multiple terms to kind of, and critically multiple price points to contend with. So there's a general acceptance that complexity does need to be ironed out a little, and the idea being that the new commerce experience is kind of moving us away from that complexity of the past towards more of a seat-based simplicity in the future, where there's effectively going to be two motions for you as a customer. As a customer, you're either going to be in an enterprise motion or you're going to be in a breadth motion. So you're going to have these kind of two buckets of purchasing available to you. The enterprise motion, the EA, if you like. Certainly, we know that the qualification for that is 500 users. So that's an immediate sign where we can kind of draw a line. But Microsoft's actually acknowledging that the fact that when you become a level B enterprise agreement customer, when you get to 2,400 seats, enterprise agreement is absolutely the correct stream billing method to be on, the correct commerce experience to be on. Underneath 2,400 users, there's going to be a significant, there's a significant number of enterprise agreement customers who are under 2,400 seats, and they're correctly still utilizing the enterprise agreement. And I think as these customers come up for renewal, or whether they've been looking at new products, the CSP conversation, this breadth, this second bucket, the breadth motion has become more relevant, mainly due to the way that CSP worked. You could have the monthly flexibility, it was a good price point, and it suited a lot of those sizes of organizations. And strategically, Microsoft still want that to be the case. You're either a enterprise agreement customer today, and you're going to maintain that tomorrow in the future, or you're going to be that CSP customer. Now, that's going to take time, but that's the vision, and that's where Microsoft are kind of heading. I mentioned before around the transformation of this commerce experience as well. If we actually look back, it kind of, like I said, it started back with Azure in 2019. And in fact, now all Azure consumption has moved across to that new commerce experience known as kind of Azure plan. And now we're seeing a modernization of the seat-based offers. So if 2019, kind of calendar year 2020 as well, was the Azure piece, now we're looking at the workspace piece with CSP and Office 365 and products such as that. And we've seen a lot of the announcements now, and as we can see, that's only going to continue into next year when we're seeing this new breadth side, this new CSP rules, seat-based offers, all kind of impacting from the 1st of March 2022. So this is where kind of Microsoft are going with their new commerce experience. It kind of boils down to critically what these changes are. And of course, there's going to be time to plan. We've got 6 months leading into this. But the changes to the CSP platform, for those that it's relevant for, is the fact that there is going to be an introduction of a new premium monthly SKU. So like I mentioned, the major benefit of the CSP agreement today, you could argue, is the ability to increase or decrease users on a monthly basis. The fact that the price can be locked. In fact, you could reduce right down to 0, not buy it for 10 months and then come back again in month 11 or 12 and still have that same price point. So for organized retail, manufacturing, obviously the year we've just had, services, that ability to increase and decrease on a monthly basis has been hugely beneficial. So Microsoft want to remove that. And they're going to be doing that by increasing the licensing by 20%, effectively on these monthly subscriptions. So Microsoft feel that in actual fact, being able to have that increase and decrease, it is an absolute critical factor. But they've seen their revenues impacted. So alongside the price increase that's coming on the 1st of March, there is also, in addition, as a separate motion, a 20% increase on the monthly CSP licenses. And that's across the board. That's across every single product sold on CSP, not just the Office 365 or the Microsoft 365 I was talking about before. So initially there was a lot of, it's not very good news, but I think we can still see there is opportunities here to take advantage. There are still ways to benefit from this, and ultimately I think the next 6 months are going to be critical. What we are seeing is an annual term price lock, and actually that's going to be potential for up to 36 months having that available price lock. So if actually you have got a consistent price base and actually you're happy to commit for the full year, we can actually lock in that price for you underneath the CSP. And actually now we're looking at being able to do that with 36-month terms as well. And I think some of those offers are going to be available kind of in January 2022. Funnily enough, literally this morning, there was an announcement from well, actually I say this morning, it was yesterday, I read it this morning, and there was an announcement saying that it's actually going to be a new wave of promotions and these seat-based offers going to be released in January 2022 as well. You're going to be seeing things on the CSP that you couldn't do before, such as midterm step-ups and add-ons. But one of the other major changes is the cancellation policy. Currently, you've got a 30-day cancellation policy on CSP, and that is now going to be strictly reduced down to 72 hours, which is going to be something which is going to have to be worked into all of the management structures and management plans and support plans that you enter into with those CSP agreements, and certainly with Ultima. Like I just say, there's more conversations and there's more news from Microsoft offering around new telco offers to come underneath the consumption billing. There's going to be new trials available, new offers, easier to convert those trials. But I think the major news with CSP is the introduction that if you want to flex your licenses monthly, you're going to be charged an extra 20% to do that. However, if you are happy to commit for the full annual, then actually that price from today might come down, because currently if you were to commit to the annual, we can kind of look at kind of giving you incentives around the 5%, Microsoft releasing incentives around the 5% mark potentially. But this really does depend on where you are as an organization and what your current price point is. I think the critical point really now is going to be putting in the plans building up and leading up to that date of the price increase and the changes to CSP. We start to consider that roadmap, where we're coming from in the legacy to the new commerce transformation. The announcement was on August the 19th in 2021 regarding the new seat-based offers and the price increases. We're now on the 7th of October, and on the 14th of October, we're going to start seeing some of those new seat-based offers actually coming through from Microsoft. So this is kind of confirmation of the price point for those customers who are happy to commit for 12 months up front on CSP. As I mentioned before, in January 2022, we expected to see the latest announcements based on those willing to commit for a 36-month term. But again, effectively then on the 1st of March 2022, we are seeing these new premium, the 20% cost to do the monthly premiums, that's coming into effect on the 1st of March 2022. As well as, don't forget, the price increase. Those price increases we ran through at the top of the call, ranging from kind of 8.5% up to 25%. So both of these kind of impacting in March the 1st, 2021. So actually where we are now between October and March is where Microsoft are offering these discounted offers to commit to an annual or a 36-month term. And these are going to kind of be available up until that price increase. So really now is the time to act. And again, just a quick notice, which is always worth bearing in mind, the open agreements officially retire on the 31st of December 2021. So again, important to understand that. So for those open customers, really from the 1st of January, CSP program is going to become pretty much one of the only options available. Obviously, open value subscription is still available. We do still have MPSA for those transactional perpetual license purchases as well. Next steps. And again, all I would do is hugely encourage you to contact your licensing consultant, specialist, your account team, engage with your Microsoft team, but please come to Partners First. We can help plan around this. It's so important now to really understand, more than ever, understand your user base, to be able to profile your users, because when considering changes to CSP or price increases or offers or promos or incentives, it's still critical to make sure you're buying the right product for the right person. Understanding your users is really critical. And if you've got that consistent static user base, that's absolutely brilliant. And if you're confident around that, we don't want to introduce complexity and convolution for the sake of it, but it is a good opportunity to profile your users when understanding where you can kind of lock in the price. So you can kind of understand as an organization, look, is it going to be more beneficial for us to have monthly flexibility based on what our users need and what they're doing over the last 90 days, 6 months, or actually, is it better to have a consistent price point to commit for the full year, or a little bit of both? Are you going to have two sets of users, some of whom are going to be more short-term, and some of whom are going to be more long-term, and maybe there's two different price points for that. I think really when we're thinking about next steps, taking advantage of the seat-based offers between now and the 1st of March 2022 has got to be the top priority. And again, something we're working with all of our customers, certainly those coming up to renewal, certainly those coming up to the end of their blocked price point, be that CSP or be that EA. Now, look, there is an advantage to take, there is another option here. If you've done that profiling of user and you've identified those who are more static and you are happy to commit to these seat-based offers, and you take advantage of one of these seat-based offers in prior to March 2022, that's fantastic. So you've got, all of those users committed for the year, actually on a better price point, now price locked. You can see what I mean when we start thinking, well, actually, this could be a good opportunity to take advantage of this. To not only offset the future increase in cost, but actually make some savings today in regards to those seat-based offers. But I'm sure there's still going to be some users where you do need that monthly flexibility. So great if you can get 90% of your users committing for a full 12 months on a better price point than you actually got today. So not only offsetting the future increases, but securing some savings today and then on a long-term basis. You can see how actually we can make this to your advantage. But look, you are still going to have some potentially some contractors, retail staff, delivery drivers, whatever the industry is, who may, seasonal staff who you don't want to commit for a 12-month or a 36-month basis. So one thing that we're doing is basically resecuring this monthly flexibility potentially prior to March. So kind of cancel off your current subscriptions, replace them in February to secure the pre-price increase, and also to secure the CSP model where the 20% monthly premium doesn't impact in March. You're kind of securing that for another 12 months. Look, you're only kicking the problem down the road for 12 months, but it's another 12 months at the same price point with the same monthly flexibility. To be perfectly honest, the more and more I'm working with organizations, the less and less that's becoming, when people and organizations really look at it, actually the monthly flexibility, although it's nice to have and something which has been a big thing around CSP, and certainly it was bad news to begin with, but the more you look at it, the more you profile your users, the more you assess the overall long-term savings and benefits, maybe it's not going to have such a big impact. But having said that, of course, there are some industries where it will, some businesses where it will. This is why it's so important to understand your own specific requirements and speak to a specialist and come into and complete one of the advisory workshops that we're working at the moment with all of our customers around this. I feel like I am just repeating myself, but it's such a critical point, understanding those long-term users, understanding those short-term users, taking advantage now before these changes happen. Please speak to us. Please speak to any licensing consultant, Ultima, or your team. I wanted to now come on to some of the other updates from Microsoft that are, of course, important. Obviously, the majority of time at the moment is looking at when the price locks are coming to an end, when your agreement's coming to an end. But look, new products are still coming out. Windows 365, the cloud PC, is the new product, again, released on the 1st of September. It is different from the Azure Virtual Desktop. Everyone's kind of asking what's the difference between Windows 365 Cloud PC and the Azure Virtual Desktop. The Windows 365 Cloud PC is effectively, it's a cloud PC, so it's bring your own device, access a browser, and get that secure desktop. The Azure Virtual Desktop would also be able to deliver secure applications as well, for example. So two different products. Also, Windows 365 Cloud PC, if the user, contractor, short-term user, whatever, is coming in and just needs to run Office web apps, you can give them a fairly low spec cloud PC and it will cost them £5 per user per month. If a contractor's coming in and wanting to set up a MSDN subscription and then utilizing a full Power BI Pro dashboard, then they're going to be needing a much more powerful machine with more memory RAM and all of that, and you're kind of looking at pricing up to kind of £30. So a huge amount of flux in the pricing for Windows 365 Cloud PC, purely based on the functionality that short-term user would potentially need, or if it's not a short-term user, if they're going to consistently be moving across to a bring your own device type scenario, think clients, Macs even. It's going to be per user per month pricing, and like I say, it's dependent on the size of the cloud. There is going to be business and enterprise edition, so if you've got existing licensing, for example, if you're an M365 customer, it's cheaper to buy this than if you're not an M365 customer. It's, like I say, it's been available, did I say September? I meant to say August, and it's in CSP, it's in EA, it's through all of the motions that you would expect. Again, some of the other Microsoft updates and news we know regarding their continued investment within Teams as a major strategic product from them, and just further integrations with other key products like the Dynamics Cloud, so you'll be able to edit Dynamics data within Microsoft Teams. Some of the promos that are available from Microsoft at the moment regarding the audio conferencing offer. If you haven't got any audio conferencing licenses, until the end of December, it is possible to get them free of charge from Microsoft, obviously paying from the 1st of January 2022 onwards, if that is a success. Similarly, we're seeing a 30% discount on some of the new Teams Rooms licenses as people potentially go back into the office. I think some of these, and look, restrictions apply, speak to us, understand your specific requirements, but I think these will be extended in the new year, but right now they're up until the end of December. Like I say, more offers and incentives are coming out. Certainly on CSP, we're being promised, and we already know about the 36-month offer that's due to be released in January 2022. Thank you. So I don't know whether there are any questions. I'm just going to have a quick check now. Didn't see any come up. So, yes. So, John, a 15 plus 20% equals a 35% increase. Yeah, look, you're absolutely right. It's all semantics. The price increase is on the products themselves, and it's happening on the 1st of March 2022. And it's all about phrasing, right? So the price increase on the products, Office 365, Microsoft 365, that's the kind of 10% here, 8.5% there, 12.5% there. That's one thing. The second motion, which is separate, is the all around 20% increase on the monthly SKU with CSP. So for example, if you're on an EA, this kind of 20% on the CSP isn't going to affect you at all. If you're an MPSA or an open, it's not going to affect you at all. But it is on all monthly CSP SKUs. So yep, I could turn around and we could turn around and say, yes, a 35% increase. If you want to speak to the business around offsetting a 35% increase in risk, then that's not incorrect. But the price increase is one motion, and then the programmatical premium SKUs being introduced monthly is a separate motion, which is why we're kind of talking about them separately. But I take the point. You can combine them together. So there's no other questions, but like I say, my contact details are up there. If any of them do still have any more questions, then please don't hesitate to contact me, and I will just simply thank you for your time. Like I say, this has been recorded, so if you have missed any of the important points, please contact me on those details, your account team, anywhere at Ultima, or like I say, the recording will be made available. So that just leaves me to say thank you very much for your time this morning, and goodbye.